Welcome to Navigating Texas Workforce Commission for Musicians, an interactive panel discussion. Fridays at 1 p.m. Brought to you by the Austin Federation of Musicians and with the Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee. The Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee are members of the Austin Federation of Musicians, Local 433 of the American Federation of Musicians, aka the Musicians Union. Some of us work as contractor 1099 workers, and others work as employee W-2 workers in various aspects of the music industry.
The goal of this session is to share our experiences, including trials and tribulations related to the Texas Workforce Commission, or TWC, with other musicians in the state of Texas to aid in navigating the TWC application process. We are not experts in unemployment assistance. We are musicians.
The information contained herein does not constitute either legal advice or an official pronouncement or a position of the Austin Federation of Musicians, but rather is only the personal opinions of the panelists. The panelists do not give legal advice or make official rulings on agency matters, should not be cited as authorities in any matter before the agency or when dealing with agency staff about a case, and must minimize their involvement with administrative processes. They also do not give legal advice on any other matter, and any information they should give should not be used as a basis for taking any employment-related action. Before taking any employment action that could adversely affect an employee, or before using any sample form or policy you may obtain from this group, you should consult a licensed private sector employment law attorney of your choice. All right, welcome back. This is Navigating Texas Workforce Commission for Musicians for November 6th, 2020, which apparently is also Election Day. Did you guys know that? It's also Election Day today as well.
Right.
Yeah.
It's election week.
Yes, yeah, for the fourth time
this
week.
That's a better way to put it, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. What a week it has been. Let's see. I guess we always start the broadcast with mentioning the websites that are listed down in the comments, or not the comments, but the description of the video rather. And those are the best places to start if you are starting from zero with unemployment assistance, especially as a musician. That's really what we're talking about here. The best place is the TWC website, which is Texas Workforce Commission, twc.texas.gov. They also have a Facebook page where they share current information, but the most accurate information is really on their website, not the Facebook page, but they answer questions on the Facebook page. And then we've got our local unemployment sharing page for our local union. That's called Local 433 Musicians Unemployment Information Sharing page on Facebook. We've got our local website, afm433.com, and then /COVID-19 are our COVID resources for all musicians. And then we've got Who Represents Me, wrm.capitol.texas.gov, where you can find out who represents you, and sometimes that's necessary to get some help with this stuff. So we always put that website on there. And then there's some links to some of the action items that you can do, things you can do about what's going on right now as far as the HEROES Act and even the CARES Act. We're still dealing with some of that. That funding and things like that, letter writing and petition signing and things like that. So please have a look. And Mark and Russell are both joining me today. Thank you for being here, gentlemen. What's everybody drinking? I'm doing coffee once again.
Spring water.
Spring water.
Green tea in a blue cup.
That's it. So consistent. Amazing. Even the vessels, I think, are very consistent. Yeah. Yep.
Well, that's called poverty.
Oh, no. Right.
Exactly.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, man. A little dose of reality right there, brother.
No gigs. We got to drink water. Down the Kool-Aid.
Teetotaling. Yeah. Yep. I'm with you. Well, last week we had talked about making the topic this week the eviction moratorium, which is a dark topic, obviously. I haven't had a chance to research that a whole lot, but I did want to still mention it. It's very important. Have you guys heard anything about the federal eviction moratorium or anything locally?
Yes.
Yeah.
The thing is that you have to have signed documents to prevent the eviction. I mean, you can't wait till the day of the eviction and then try. You have to do it before. So you need to get with your lender or landlord way before you get to that point.
Yeah, you have to let them know that you're filing that paperwork, and then actually file the paperwork.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I think there is also some relief that comes in for the landlord potentially, and of course, as we've been discussing, I mean, we'd much rather have the relief money coming to the actual citizens that are being affected. That would be much better, but that's still tied up with the HEROES Act, and probably will be for the next few months, unfortunately. Yeah, so we'll get on that next week and try to provide some websites about where you would find that information in case you need it, because musicians are really not working that much right now. Although a lot of people are finding some way to do it, which is encouraging. But yeah, we may have people in our business dealing with that, unfortunately. So we'll bring that next week. Did you guys have anything else on the evictions thing? I almost don't even want to talk about it. It's so dark, but
it's pretty sad.
It is. Oh man, but we will do it. We will do it next week. We'll bring some more info. Of course, the news, I mean, is dominated by this election this week. We may almost be done today, but nobody knows for sure. Have you guys been following it?
Yes, and it's not just the presidential election.
Oh yeah.
There is still a small chance that the Senate could flip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there may be some runoff elections coming up.
There will be two in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And the one in Arizona did flip.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Democrat in that seat now.
Yeah. Yeah, so that makes those runoffs in Georgia even more important.
More important.
Yes.
Because there's a chance that Mitch McConnell will not be the leader going into this Congress.
Yeah. And we know that he was reelected.
He was reelected.
Yep. He's still there. Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, and that's going to affect, the HEROES Act coming through. I mean, presumably if the Democrats get a hold of the Senate, they could push that HEROES Act through right away, hopefully. And yeah, get that done, in January or February or something, hopefully soon, really soon.
Well,
but
also I'm kind of hoping that some of the Republicans in the Senate may soften a little bit, not feeling like they're under Trump's heel.
Yeah.
Assuming Trump loses, that, they may soften their positions a little bit. I mean, there were some signs of that 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then that disappeared. And I wouldn't be surprised in the next few weeks to see some Republicans wanting to come to a deal.
I think
you're right.
Yeah.
Because there's the reason that he's not going to be reelected. Follow suit and see that they're moving away from that authoritarian, tyrannical governing style.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, if we do have a new president, we probably will hopefully have a new secretary or a Treasury secretary. Steve Mnuchin that was there, that has been a kind of a roadblock in some of this stuff. He's also
won't be until January.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
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 Right.
I mean, I'm hoping for something in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
The near term will be much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Winter is coming, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's no joke.
It's here in Iowa.
Yep.
They have 5 inches of snow there.
Ooh, man.
Yeah.
Yep, and points north, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, November it's a tough month, man. Geez. Yeah. Well, hopefully that keeps going. Oh, that's I wanted to mention also with in relevance to the Treasury Secretary. If we do have a new Treasury Secretary, that was also the person in the office that was blocking the pension reform for the AFM pension.
Right.
Yeah.
Which really set us back by another year in getting that reformed, which is something that needs to happen. And I don't think there's any way to save it for this year. But if there's a new Treasury Secretary, hopefully that will go better, and hopefully other things will happen. That will help.
A new Attorney General.
Yes, that will help working people.
That's been a legal roadblock.
Yes.
Every inch of the way.
New Secretary of Education, a new Department of Labor. Those are all appointees. I mean, that's a really big deal for us. So We'll see. Yeah, we'll just have to keep watching it. One thing that we have been looking at on this show, mostly I think it was last week, but a couple other times we brought up the thing in California with the app drivers, what they're calling app drivers now, or they used to call ride sharing drivers. They passed a law, previously that made those guys employees, and the law that was on the election in California. This time was really spearheaded and funded by Uber and Lyft, and it was to change it back so the app drivers didn't have to be employees anymore. It could be contractors, and that means they don't get Social Security and they don't get any benefits at all. And that did pass, unfortunately. So that's a blow to labor, and we're of course watching that closely because that's what happened to us in 1978. That's what happened in nightclub musicians.
And we have never recovered from that.
Yes, it's been a disaster for us. Yeah. So.
Yeah, from what I've read, a lot of the actual drivers are pretty dismayed by this vote. Now, is that what force does that have? Is that a proposition or is that legally binding?
I believe
that ballot vote.
I believe it's legally binding. Yeah,
really?
It was an actual law that they Uber and Lyft they did the same thing here in Austin a few years ago. Remember that? Yeah. Not with that specific law, but they what was it about here? It was like it was about the background checks. Yes,
background
drivers.
Checks.
Yeah. They didn't want to use the local system of background checks that the cab drivers used, and so they just dumped a bunch of money to get somebody to propose this law, and dumped a bunch of money into promoting it. And it's kind of scary how easy the law can be bought in cities and states in the U.S., even California, which you think of as a pretty progressive state. So
that's why you need a progressive attorney general to challenge those.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we all need to keep educating each other about workers' rights, because we've lost a lot of that knowledge. The last 3 generations, we've lost a lot of that knowledge. So, and of course, I'm talking to the choir here with you guys, of course, but hopefully we can all keep doing that and move forward instead of backwards. But what else? The next topic that I thought of was the work search requirements, of course, in Texas for unemployment, and that's of course directly relevant to what our show is usually about. So the work search requirements have been reinstated as of this week. This is the first week that they're back in, and so it's we've heard from some folks, that got a notice from the TWC. Mark, did you get a notice that said something about that? Neither did I.
Nothing.
Yeah.
But I don't know anybody that has.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I heard from a couple people that did, and a few of them, they're union members, and a few of them aren't sure if they indicated their union membership on their original application to TWC, because of course that was like 6 months ago for some of us, and they weren't quite sure, and they're wondering if they need to get in touch. It's my understanding that the notice said that the work.
Well, you know what? I just realized I got the notice in my inbox.
Oh, okay. Look at that. Good call. Good catch.
Yeah.
So maybe everybody got it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it says if unless you're exempt or something like that, right?
It says TWC has established the minimum number of weekly work search activities you must complete to be eligible for unemployment benefits. And I'm looking to see where the exceptions are here. And it doesn't say any.
Wow.
Acceptable activities. Yeah, I don't see anywhere where it mentions specific exceptions to the work search requirement.
Wow. All right.
Well, so that's a little scary.
Thank you again, Texas Workforce Commission. There we go.
for being so clear about this.
Yeah. So just as a reminder, if you're a member of a labor union that has a hiring hall or similar, is what this says on the application, you are exempt from work searches because that hiring hall is always looking for work on your behalf. And of course, the AFM office has we don't have a hall, but we have a referral service that qualifies for that hiring hall. That's like old language. So yeah, if you're a member in good standing, you don't have to file work search activities at all. You can just put 0. But normally what happens is on that payment request, it just asks you for the number of work searches that you did. And they don't actually ask you to document them unless you're randomly selected in a particular week. I believe that's how it operates. Is that kind of what you've heard as well, Mark?
Yeah, and every week I put down 2 hours, 1 hour, 3 hours, whatever, because I figured I might as well put something down there than nothing.
Right. Yeah, but as a union member in good standing, you can put 0 there.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's all right. Yeah. So, what do you guys think is the best? What's the best thing to do for these folks that are wondering about this? I mean, for the union members, I think they just wait until they actually get a request to show the documentation, and then if that happens, then we should get together and get a hold of the Texas State Senator's office and try to get them a call from the TWC. I'm thinking that's
if you're feeling bored or want to get a jump on it, assuming that we do end up having to do something, you can go to workintexas.com and register yourself, which I did just because I don't know why I did it, but months ago. And you can go on there and it will walk you through the steps that you have to take in order to do job searches and report them. Oh, that's okay. Workintexas.com.
Right. Yeah, and that's for actual job searches. Actual job. Yeah. And that is one way to satisfy that, and it gives you documentation of you doing that in the week, that's what you need, if you're not a member of a labor union. So but yeah, if you're a member of a labor union, you actually don't have to do that, because the union is always looking for work on your behalf. If you're not, however, though, that's there are other things you can do, but what Mark has suggested, that definitely counts and is pretty easy to do, I believe. Mark, right? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, it takes a little bit. It took me about, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes to go through the registration process.
Yeah.
And then they give you a lot of information about how you have to conduct your job searches and document them. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, at this point, it doesn't seem like we have to do that.
No. Not if you're in a union. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, but if you're not in a union, the documentation is important because they're not going to ask you how many. They're not going to ask you for the documentation for the week that you're in. They're going to ask you for documentation from a previous week.
Right.
If they ask you, they'll be like, 3 weeks ago, tell us what your work search was, and they're like, so if you're not in the union, you want to kind of keep track of this that way, or if you're using the other things. So the TWC has also put out a list of things you can do if you are a contractor or a self-employed person to qualify for this, and it's taking steps to reopen your business is what they call them. And it's a lot of easy things to do. You just have to have the documentation associated with each week. So
yeah. So just to go back to that Work in Texas thing, according to this document I'm looking at right here from the TWC, it says, if you live in Texas or regularly commute to Texas for work from a border state, you must register at www.workintexas.com.
Huh.
So it's not optional. I mean, if you're in the union, it's optional, but if you're not, you need to go and register on that website.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, yeah. So that and that website. The good thing about it is it generates not a paper trail, but a digital paper trail of your work search requirements. You know,
Sure.
and, yeah. So it's a pretty easy way to do that. Yeah, but let's run down this list of the steps to reopen your business that could also qualify for that. And this is off the TWC website. We've posted the link to this before, and it's a little tough to find, man. It's the page is called Self-Employed Texans and the CARES Act, which the CARES Act funding is over for most of us.
Yeah.
Although it's not completely out, but so it's way down on the page. How many articles down the page? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Keep going.
6 articles down the page is an article on, says work requirements reinstated November 1st, 2020. And that's where that information is. So we'll put the link down in the description. But it has this list, and it's all pretty easy to do. You just would need to document this, and you probably should do it, when you do your payment request each week for unemployment, if not before then, for the weeks that's about. So yeah, it says, let your customers or clients know you're reopening by posting on your social media platforms. How do you document that? I mean, maybe you put a link, maybe you copy a link to your social media post or something, or take a screenshot, I guess. Contact past customers or clients. Again, that could be an email. So you just save a copy of the email, cut and paste a copy of the email, take a screenshot of the email, maybe if you're using a phone. Or you could just write down who you contacted, if it was a phone call or if you went and waved at their front gate or something, I guess. Yeah. And then the third thing is, it just says advertise. Advertise. So you could work on your website. You could get new business cards. You could, that could also be relevant to social media. You just have to keep track of it. So maybe like having a notebook or even just a folder on your computer desktop or something, where you're like kind of keeping track of these things for each week. That's the crux of it. You have to be ready when the TWC asks you for that specific week. The week of November 2nd. What were your work search activities? So the week of November, what's it going to be on Monday? 9th? November 9th, what were your work search activities?
According to this document, it doesn't actually start until November 15th. It says you must start documenting your work search activities the beginning of this week, November 15th, 2020.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. That's a little more clear. I thought it was for the payment requests on November 15th, which would be for the week.
No, I think it's starting that week.
Well, that's good.
So your payment request would be a week or two later.
Man. So this is on this page that I'm reading, it says, as Texas continues to reopen, the Texas Workforce Commission is reinstating work search requirements for all claimants beginning November 1st, 2020.
That's not what this document says.
I know it, man. Yeah. Well, thank you again, Texas Workforce Commission, for muddying the waters.
For not being clear.
Yep. Yeah. Well, let's keep going down here. There's still more on the list. I think there's about 12 things on the list here. After advertise is pass out business cards and flyers. That may not be a good idea during COVID, but it would it would count. Reach out to potential clients. So that's also communications. You just document who you contacted. Or you could copy emails or phone calls, I suppose. Yeah. Make sure any required licenses or permits are current and review them if they aren't. So even a driver's license renewal could count, for some weeks. Yeah. And the number of work searches that are required seems to be different depending on where you live or something like that. What county you're in or something like that. Or I'm not really sure. Yeah, because I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, we'll keep going down the list. Review current contracts and research new ones. So that's something you could just write down that you did. It's pretty easy. And if you'd like to look at some contracts, the union has a lot of contracts that you could look at. As soon as you get access to AFM.org in particular, you can look at contracts for like Hollywood movies. You can look at hours on there, man. You can look at contracts for NBC. You can look at contracts for Capitol Records. You can look at contracts for the Metropolitan Opera. I mean, it's like all over the place. So
right, bus driving.
Yeah, practically, yeah. Let's see.
One addition to that.
Yeah.
Again, according to this document, it says, beginning November 15th, you must look for work each week and complete at least 3 work search activities each week.
Okay.
And it also gives you a work search log online, which is a very, very long online address here, which I won't read out, but you can probably get this information from the same doc that I'm looking at in your TWC.
Is that on TWC or on Work in Texas?
It's on TWC.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, I can read it out if you want.
No, that's okay. I think there'll be a link there, though, yeah.
I think so, yeah. But in other words, they give you the opportunity to log in your work searches right there on their website. Mm-hmm. And then it says you may create your own log as long as you include the same information.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So that may be the safest way to do it, I suppose. Yeah, if you can create it right on TWC.
Yeah.
And then that would sort of reinforce that habit of, when you do your payment request, just do it at the same time.
Yeah.
Just put those things in there. Yeah. And just have that 2-week habit. I missed mine this week, so I gotta do it this weekend.
Right. Yeah. One of the thing it says here, TWC may request proof of your work search activities at any time up to a week after your benefit year ends.
Up to a week.
So it doesn't say that they will request proof. It says that they may request.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. So. Yeah, if you're coming into the system, where you haven't used it before, there's a lot of things that you can misunderstand about it. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and if you're a freelancer, if you're a contractor, if you're a self-employed person, you've never been able to use the system before this year. So that's why it's so important that we share information with each other. Yeah. Let's keep going down the line. This is steps you can take to reopen your business. Prepare a bid on a contract. If you have a contract to prepare a bid on, I suppose that seems like it would be more appropriate to like construction contractors maybe, and submit a bid on a contract. Same kind of thing. I mean, that we don't usually have that with music, but occasionally you get a booking agent, say, how much can you do this gig for in 2 weeks for 4 hours, and they'll wait to hear a couple of bids, and see who'll do it the cheapest. Sometimes, yeah. Let's keep going. Research and prepare for a specific contract. So that, that could be something if you're working up material for a specific gig. If you're practicing something, yes, right? That's good. Check your inventory. I think that would apply to CDs for sure, or merchandise. You could check. You could, take inventory, see how many you have left. Of different things, T-shirts. What kind of merch you guys selling these days, man? T-shirts, CDs. People are selling USB drives. Have you seen those little USB drives that are shaped like cassette tapes? Those are kind of cool. Yeah. That's kind of neat. Yeah. What else? I don't know. I keep thinking of maybe like engraved lighters or something. I don't know. But anyway, check your inventory. Oh, and then the last one is enroll in training to expand your skills. That's an interesting one. I mean, if you took a lesson from somebody, you could do that. If you, the Work in Texas thing has a whole training component to it too, right? There's like metrics or something like that, I think it's called, that you can take different training programs like for a different job. That's interesting, and there could be something in there relevant to our business, like maybe accounting or something like that. I don't know. A lot of us are pretty bad at the old accounting game, but Anyway, yeah, and then it just says, remember to follow federal and state health guidelines when you reopen your business to ensure the safety of you, your employees, and your clients and customers, of course. So, yeah, and of course that goes back to, we have safety guidelines for small venues and studios on afm.org, and we've posted that before, but I guess we could post that again. That's always a good thing to take a look at. Mm-hmm. And of course, the state recommendations are really important too. So, yeah.
Aaron, do you think it would be worthwhile for you or us to be proactive about the issue of whether union members who did complete TWC applications did in fact put down their union affiliation on that? I mean, in other words, should we contact the local state senator's office and just ask them how, if it came up on behalf of union members, if there was a way that we could facilitate checking that?
Yeah, I do think that's a good idea, and that's why I've actually already done that.
Oh,
yeah, checked in. I haven't heard back yet, is the thing, but yeah, I did check in. Of course, our contact over at Judas Affarini's office has been incredibly helpful to us in fixing issues with various musicians' applications and everything else. So
right.
Yeah, so we're hoping she can provide us some guidance over there, and I'll share that as soon as we hear. But yeah, I reached out to them yesterday, and so great minds, my friend. Excellent. Yeah, right on. Well, did you guys have any other thoughts on the work search requirements for this week? Yeah, just something to be aware of for sure. But it's nice to be aware that, if you're a union member in good standing, you don't have to do it at all. So that's good. Any other issues about unemployment assistance, insurance, anything? Yeah,
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think we're all just thinking about the election in the back of our minds right now.
Well, we're being hopeful that things are going to change for all of ours better. Things are going to get better for working and living and surviving the pandemic, and
sure.
Yeah, I think really, like, even just the smallest thing, like having consistent leadership on mask wearing, could do our business a lot of good. I mean, because we're going to be able to have performances that people can attend if we all are in the habit of wearing the masks. If the whole society embraces that, I keep looking at those baseball game photos from 1920 and 1919. There's like a stadium full of people all wearing masks watching the baseball game. It's like we can do that.
Be done.
Yeah,
it can be done.
Yeah,
a stadium full of men.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Yeah, man. Jeez. All right. Well, I guess that's probably it for this week. You guys have anything else before we sign off?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well,
one other thing.
Please.
Our city council is still in flux.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's an important issue. Yeah. Is there going to be a runoff?
There will be runoffs.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. Yes, so that's something to pay attention to.
When is the runoff? Is it January?
That I don't know.
I think it's at least January, maybe later. So most of the other things will be figured out by then, but the runoffs for the U.S. Senate will be around then too.
Yeah, I think so, January.
So it's something to pay attention to. We have to, we'll have to stay on top of this thing, and and of course our city council here in Austin, is important because of all the things going on. We passed the transportation bill.
Yeah,
that's right.
Here in Austin.
A and B propositions.
Yep, A and B, yeah. So the way those things get implemented, has a lot to do with the city council. The city council members appoint the members of the music commission members, from their districts. So that's a thing that affects us sometimes.
It matters for us.
Yeah. Of course, the music commission only submits recommendations up the chain to the city council, but that's that's been a good thing for us in the past. So, yeah. So yeah, it really is important. Local government and as well as the federal government. Yeah, stuff to keep an eye on. If you, the viewer, are interested in that, our local union has a city affairs commission that keeps an eye on that stuff directly, and we'd love for you to join us in union and get musicians' voices out there and do some good for our profession. So on that note, if you are watching this and you're in the music business, don't give up. We can do this by sharing information together and survive this pandemic and this recession and everything else with solidarity and brotherhood and sisterhood and everything else. And so we will see you next week. And thank you for watching. And thank you, Russell and Mark. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.